I found my dead father's pocket knife on my own nightstand on a Tuesday morning, and the trouble with that was simple. I had stood at my daddy's bedside the week before he passed and watched him press that knife into my younger brother's hand and tell him to carry it. It was my brother's knife. It had been my brother's knife for 6 years, and my brother, by his own telling and my wife's, had not set foot in my house in over a month. I picked it up. I turned it over in my hand. The bone handle worn smooth by 2 men I loved, my father and my brother, and I felt the floor of my whole life go soft underneath me. Because a knife does not walk itself into a man's bedroom. Somebody carried it in. And there were not many people in this world who carried that knife, and only one of them had any business being in my bedroom while I was 3 counties over on a job. And it was not the one who had it. I did not say a word. I set the knife back down exactly where I found it, square to the edge of the nightstand, the way you leave a thing when you need it to still be there later. And I went to work and laid brick all day, with my hands steady and my mind 1,000 miles away. Because I am a mason, and the first thing my daddy ever taught me, before he ever let me touch a trowel, was that a wall is only as true as the footing you cannot see. You can lay every brick of it dead plumb and dead level. Beautiful work. Work you are proud of. And if the footing underneath has shifted, the whole wall will crack on the first hard freeze, and the crack will run right up through your finest course. For 15 years, I had been laying beautiful brick on a footing that had shifted, and I never looked down. And that knife on my nightstand was the first hard freeze. Stay with me. Because what I did over the next several months, instead of what every drop of blood in me wanted to do that Tuesday, is the whole reason I am telling you this. The man my wife had been seeing was my own brother, my daddy's son. And in the state I live in, she could keep me from even getting free of her unless I was willing to prove, in a courtroom, the thing I least wanted to be true in all the world. This is not a story about revenge, and Lord knows I had cause. I never raised my hand, not to her and not to him, though there was an hour I will tell you about where it took everything I had. It is a story about a man who got betrayed by his own blood, kept his head, and built something true again on honest ground. I am 46 years old. I lay brick and block and stone for a living in a small town in Mississippi, the kind of place where everybody is somebody's cousin, and the same families have filled the same church pews for 100 years. I was married for 15 years, 2 kids, a boy who is 15 and a girl who is 9. And I had one brother, younger than me by 4 years, who I had taught to ride a bike and taught to drive and stood up for at his own wedding. If you are out there tonight and you ever got cut by your own blood, tell me in the comments where you are watching from. There is a particular kind of wound that only family can give you, and the people who have it know each other. Let me tell you about the trust first. Because in this one, the trust ran 2 ways, to a wife and to a brother, and both of them used it. I married Crystal when I was 31. She was warm and easy, and she fit right into my family like she had always been there, which in a small town is half the marriage. And my brother, Jesse, was the baby of the family, the charming one, the one things came easy to. Where I was the older one, things got handed to, because somebody had to carry them. I never resented Jesse. I loved him. When our daddy got sick, I was the one who took the extra jobs to help with the bills, and I was glad to. And when daddy passed and left me the house and the masonry business, because I was the one who had worked it beside him, Jesse did not get much. And I told myself he did not mind. And I gave him work whenever he needed it, and money whenever he was short, because that is what a big brother does. I want you to understand what Jesse was to me, because it is the whole weight of this. I did not just love my brother, I half raised him. Our daddy worked 2 jobs when we were boys, and I was the one who got Jesse on the school bus and taught him to throw a ball and stood between him and the bigger kids who wanted to give him trouble. When he wrecked his first truck at 17, he called me before he called Daddy. When he got married, he asked me to stand up beside him, and I did. proud as if he were my own son. There was not one thing that boy ever needed that I did not try to give him, and I gave it gladly, because that is what you do for your blood. So, when I tell you I found my daddy's knife on my nightstand, understand that the betrayal was not one wound, it was two, a wife and a brother, and the brother was the one that cut all the way to the bone. Because a wife chooses you and can unchoose you, but a brother is supposed to be the one person in this world who is yours, no matter what. From before you can remember to after you are gone. Jesse was supposed to be the footing that never shifted. He was the first thing to go. And I worked. Masonry is hard. And the good jobs are not always close to home. So I took the work where it was, sometimes 2 and 3 counties over, gone before light and home after dark. Sometimes staying over a night or two on a big job to save the drive. I told myself the work was love. Every wall I laid was my kid's future and a roof over Crystal's head. When a man is built to provide, he tells himself that being gone to earn is the same as being home to hold. And it is not. And I know that now. Every day I was 3 counties over, laying somebody else's brick. My own house sat open. And the person I trusted most to look after it, after my wife, was my brother, who I would have told you that Tuesday morning was the most loyal man I knew. Here is the part I have to own, because I will not tell this if I cannot be straight. I had let the marriage go a little hard and quiet, the way a man does when he is tired and proud and married to his work. I had stopped courting Crystal years back. I figured a provided-for woman was a loved woman, and that is a lie a lot of good men tell themselves until the day they find a knife on the nightstand. That does not excuse one thing she did, or one thing Jesse did. But a man who wants to build true again has to be honest about his own shifted footing. And mine had shifted years before that knife showed up. Let me tell you how the cracks had been showing. The ones I read as nothing. Jesse coming around more, which I was glad of, because I loved having my brother close. And I never once thought to ask why he came around most on the days I was 3 counties over. Crystal getting quiet about Jesse in a way I could not name, a stiffness when his name came up that I figured was just some squabble between them that was none of my business. The phone, of course, face down, a passcode. My boy, 15, getting cold toward his Uncle Jesse for reasons he would not say. Going hard and silent when Jesse came by, which I put down to a teenager's moods, and now understand was a kid who had seen something he had no idea what to do with. And the way Crystal stopped wanting to go to Sunday dinner at Mama's if she knew Jesse and his family would be there. Which I read as nothing, because who reads the truth when the truth is that the 2 people you trust most have been meeting in your own house on the days you leave to feed them all. There were other things, too, that I sanded smooth at the time. Jesse's truck parked down the road from my house once when I came home early, and how he had some easy reason for it that I never thought to question, because why would I question my own brother? The way Crystal started locking her phone in a drawer at night, when for 15 years it had charged on the nightstand. A receipt for a motel an hour off that I found in the truck, and that she said must have been from a job I sent Jesse on. And I believed her, because the lie even used my brother as the cover, which is a special kind of cruelty, to hide behind the very man you are hiding with. And my own mama, once, starting to say something to me about Crystal and Jesse and then stopping herself. And I thought she was just being a mama who worried, when I think now she had half seen it too, and could not bear to be the one to tell me. The whole town, looking back, was quieter around me than it should have been. A small town knows. It just decides, the way small towns do, that it is not its place to be the one to hand a good man the knife. And then I found my daddy's knife on my nightstand, and there was no reading it as nothing. That night, I did not confront anybody. And I want to tell you what that cost, because this is the part where a lot of men lose everything in a single hot minute. I went out to my shop behind the house where I keep my tools, and I sat down among the trowels and the levels, and the rage that came up in me was unlike anything I have ever felt. Because it was not just a cheating wife, it was my brother, my daddy's boy, the one I taught to drive, in my bed, in my house, eating at my mama's table on Sunday with my daddy's knife in his pocket, and his hand having been where no brother's hand has any right to be. There was an hour out there in that shop, where I knew exactly where Jesse lived, and exactly what I wanted to do, and the only thing that kept me in that chair was my 2 kids asleep in the house, and the picture of them visiting their daddy somewhere, with bars on the windows, because he let one hot hour erase a whole life of being a good man. I gripped the arms of that chair until my hands cramped. And then I picked up a level, just to hold something true, and I laid it across the workbench and watched the bubble find its center. And slowly, I found mine. A man who lets his blood get the better of him hands the people who wronged him the one thing they could never take on their own, which is his good name. I was not going to give them that. I set the level down, and I started, very quiet, to think. The next morning, I went and saw a lawyer 2 towns over, a man nobody in my family knew. And what he told me is the most useful thing I can hand you tonight. So write it down. Do not confront, not yet, and understand the ground you are standing on before you take one step on it. Because in this state, the ground is not what most folks think. The lawyer was a man who had been doing family law in Mississippi for almost 30 years, and he had a calm that put my own footing back under me. I told him everything. The knife, the days I was gone, Jesse, all of it. And then he told me some things about Mississippi divorce that I did not know, and that most people do not know until they are standing in it. And I am going to share the shape of them, though I want to be clear I am no lawyer, and your state runs its own way and you need your own attorney for your own life. This is just my story. He told me that Mississippi is not like most states. He said in most places, if one person wants out, they can get out. No fault, just irreconcilable differences and time. But not here. Here, he said, a no-fault divorce takes both people agreeing to it, both signing. If your wife will not consent, he said, you cannot simply file irreconcilable differences and walk away. If she refuses, your only road out is to prove a fault ground in court, and the most likely one in your case is adultery. And the law here makes you prove that with clear and convincing evidence, not just a feeling and a knife on a nightstand. He looked at me steady and he said, if she decides to make this hard, the only way you get free is to prove, in front of a judge, exactly what your wife and your brother did. I sat with that a long minute, because it was a cruel kind of trap, and I felt the jaws of it. The thing I least wanted in this world. To drag my family's worst secret into a courtroom. To prove my own brother had done this might be the only key out of a marriage I no longer wanted to be in. My own wife could keep me chained to her unless I was willing to expose the whole thing. But then he told me the other side of it, the part that straightened my back. He said that fault is not nothing here. He said if I proved the adultery, a court would weigh it. That a cheating spouse in this state generally does not get ongoing support unless she would be destitute without it. And that her conduct would be part of how the judge divided what we had. And he told me the most important thing, the thing about the house and the business. He asked who owned them. I told him my daddy left them to me, the house and the masonry company both, in his will, to me alone, because I was the one who worked the trade beside him. The lawyer nodded slow and said, then those came to you by inheritance, and if you kept them separate and never folded them into the marriage, there is a strong case they are yours alone, and not part of the pot at all. He told me to find the will, the deed, the business papers, all of it, and keep them somewhere safe. Then he gave me the rules, the same ones I would give you no matter where you live. Do not move out of the house, because the day you leave, you have written the story of who walked away. Do not confront either of them, because the second they know you know, they get their story straight, and the proof gets harder. Do not lay a hand on your brother, no matter what your blood tells you. Because the man who throws the punch loses the house, the kids, and the high ground all in one swing. Document everything, quietly. The proof that lets you prove the truth if she forces you to. And keep your daddy's papers where she cannot reach them. So I went home, and I became an actor. I did not know a plain man could be. I came in for supper. I asked Crystal about her day. I even sat across from my brother at Mama's Sunday table and passed him the cornbread. With my daddy's knife, I had quietly photographed right where it lay still in the back of my mind. And I smiled, and I kept my hands from shaking. Because the day they knew I knew was the day Crystal would dig in and the proof would scatter. I have laid brick in August heat that could drop a younger man. Nothing was as hard as breaking bread with the brother who had broken my home and keeping my face as level as a fresh course of block. And I gathered what I needed, quietly and patient, the way you tuck point an old wall, one joint at a time. My daddy's will, the deed to the house in my name alone, the business papers showing the company came to me by inheritance, and the proof of the affair, gathered the lawful way my lawyer laid out. Nothing I would be ashamed to show a judge or my own children someday. Enough that if Crystal forced me to prove it, I could. Clear and convincing. I kept all of it in a box at the lawyer's office, off my property, because the one night I had the will out at my kitchen table, Crystal came in, and I had just enough time to slide it under a stack of job invoices. She asked what I was doing. I told her I was working up a bid, which a mason can say at any hour and be believed. After that, the papers lived with the lawyer. Keep your proof where the people in your own house cannot reach it. That is not paranoia. That is just keeping your line and your level where they will not walk off. I want to say a word about the papers, the inheritance papers, because some of you are going to need this and nobody tells you until it is too late. The reason my daddy's house and my daddy's trade stayed mine was not luck. It was that, without ever fully knowing why, I had kept them clean. I never put Crystal's name on the deed, not because I did not trust her, I did back then, but because my daddy had told me, "Son, that house is the family's, you keep it in your name." And I had listened, the way you listen to a hard old man, even when you do not understand him. I had kept the business accounts separate from the household money, the company in one bucket and our living in another. Because that is how Daddy ran it, and I never changed it. Those two boring habits, kept up for 15 years without a thought, were the whole reason a betraying wife and a court could not pry the roof off my children's heads. If you own something your people built, hear me, keep it in its own name. Keep its money in its own bucket. Do not fold it into the marriage just to prove a point about trust. Because trust is a beautiful thing, and it is also exactly the thing that walked my brother into my bedroom. Protect the inheritance. The day may come, God forbid, when it is the only wall still standing. And the proof itself I gathered carefully and lawfully, because my lawyer was clear that in this state the burden was clear and convincing, a high bar, and that I would only get one chance to clear it. I did not break into anything. I did not lay a hand on my brother to beat a confession out of him, though my blood begged me to. I gathered what could be gathered the honest way, the kind of proof that holds up in daylight, the kind I could lay in front of a judge without flinching, and in front of my own grown children someday without shame. It was enough. That was all it needed to be. Here is the part where it nearly broke me. And it was not the law, and it was not even Crystal. It was my mama. Because in a family, a thing like this does not stay between a husband and a wife. It runs through the whole house like a crack through a wall. When it started to come out, when Crystal finally understood I knew and the quiet ended, my mama got hold of it. And my mama did what mamas do. She begged me. She sat me down at the same table where I had passed Jesse the cornbread, and she cried, and she asked me to forgive him, to forgive them both, to not drag it into a courtroom, to not tear the family in two, to think about the grandchildren and the cousins and the family name in a town where everybody talks. "Forgive your brother," she said. "Keep the peace. Do not break this family apart." And I want you to understand how close that came to working, because it was not coming from an enemy, it was coming from my mother, who I love, who had already buried my father and could not bear to lose the family too. For a few days, I nearly did it. I nearly swallowed the whole thing, took Crystal back, made peace with Jessie for Mama's sake, and spent the rest of my life laying beautiful brick on a footing I knew had shifted. That is what they were all asking me to do. Smile at the Sunday table and pretend the wall was not already cracked. I sat with my Mama's plea for 3 days, and they were the hardest 3 days of the whole thing, harder than the night with the knife, because the knife only asked me to be strong, and my Mama asked me to be weak in the name of love. She is a good woman. She was not protecting Jessie because she did not care what he did. She was protecting the only thing she had left after my daddy, which was the picture of her family whole, all her boys at one table. I understood it. I understood that saying no to her felt like driving the crack deeper myself. And there is a version of me, a tireder and more frightened version, who would have given in, who would have decided that keeping Mama's table whole was worth living a lie, and who would have called that decision love. A lot of good men make exactly that choice, and they spend the rest of their lives as a stranger in their own marriage so that nobody at Thanksgiving has to feel uncomfortable. I came within an inch of being one of them. But I am a Mason, and I knew the thing my Mama, God love her, did not want to hear. You cannot keep the peace by laying a fresh course over a cracked footing. The crack does not care how pretty the brick on top of it is. It will work its way up through every new course you lay, year after year, until the whole wall fails. And when it fails, it takes everything it was holding up down with it. Forgiving for the sake of the family, with the footing still shifted, was not going to save the family. It was just going to spread the crack to my children, who would grow up in a house built on a lie everyone agreed not to mention. I told my Mama that I loved her, that I forgave Jessie in my own heart so I would not carry the poison, but that forgiving a man is not the same as building your life on him again, and that I would not raise my kids on a footing I knew was broken just to keep a Sunday table looking whole. She did not understand it that day. She came to, later. But that day I had to choose between my mother's peace and my children's foundation. And I chose the foundation, and I would choose it again. And here is the thing about that choice. The moment I stopped trying to hold the cracked wall up, the family did not shatter the way Mama feared. The truth did its own work. Once it was all in the open, it was not me who tore the family apart. It was the thing Jessie and Crystal had done. And slowly, everyone could see that. My standing in the family did not fall. His did. Because a town and a family, given enough time, can tell the difference between the man who got betrayed and the brother who did the betraying, no matter who begged for peace at the start. Crystal did make it hard, just like the lawyer warned. She would not consent to the easy divorce, hoping, I think, to wear me down, or to leverage a better deal, or just to keep her grip. So I did the hard thing. I proved it, quietly, with the proof I had gathered. My lawyer made it plain to her lawyer exactly what we could show a judge, clear and convincing, about her and Jessie. And a woman who is counting on you being too ashamed of the truth to ever say it out loud folds very fast when she realizes you are not ashamed, that you will stand up in open court and prove what was done to you, if that is the only way out. She leaves you. She stopped fighting. The divorce went through on the strength of what I was willing to prove. What came after was quieter than I feared. Because the house and the business came to me from my daddy by inheritance, and I had kept them separate, they stayed mine. The roof over my kids and the trade that feeds them. Because I proved the fault. Crystal did not walk away with support she had not earned, and a judge weighed her conduct in dividing what was truly shared. where there was genuine marital property. I let her have her fair part, because I am not a thief and the law is not a club for taking what is not yours. But my daddy's house and my daddy's trade stayed in the family they were meant for, with me and my children. And Jesse, my brother got exactly what a man gets when he burns his own blood for a woman who was never really his. Crystal did not ride off into any sunset with him, because a thing that is built on betraying your own brother does not have a footing under it either. And it cracked the same as everything else they touched. He lost his place at the family table, not because I took it from him, but because he had set the charge under it himself. Last I heard, he had moved on from Crystal and from the town both, gone to start over somewhere nobody knew what he had done, which is the only place a man like that can live. I do not waste anger on him anymore. I forgave him, like I told my mama, for my own sake, so the poison would not set up in me like bad mortar. But I will not build on him again, and I never will. And there is no contradiction in those two things, no matter what anybody at any Sunday table tells you. I think about Jesse sometimes, not with hate, just with a kind of sadness for what he threw in the fire. He did not just lose me, he lost his standing in a town where standing is most of what a man has. He lost his place at the only table that would have had him on his worst day. He traded the one brother who half raised him, who stood up at his wedding, who never once let him go without, for a few stolen afternoons with a woman who, the minute it cost her anything, did not want him either. He burned the footing his whole life was built on, and he did it with his own hand. And there is no court and no brother that could punish him worse than the plain arithmetic of what he gave up for what he got. That is the thing about betraying your own blood. The world does not even have to lift a finger. The deed itself is the sentence. I am not going to give you a scene where Crystal came crawling back, because that is not how this one went. What I will tell you is how it actually ended, which was quieter and meant more. My mama, in time, came to stand with me, because a mother's heart can grieve a son who did wrong and still know which of her boys kept his honor. It took her a while, and I never rushed her, because asking a woman to choose between her sons is a cruelty I would not lay on the mother who raised me. But one Sunday, months on, she set my place at her table and not Jesse's, and she put her hand on my cheek the way she did when I was a boy. And she did not say anything, and she did not have to. My kids stayed with me in my daddy's house, and they see their mother, and I have never said one cruel word about her in their hearing, nor about their uncle, because the wound is mine to carry and not theirs to inherit. And I went back to laying brick and to teaching my boy the trade and to building things on honest footings, which is the only kind of thing worth building. Here is what I have left for you, and then I will let you rest. A wall is only as true as the footing you cannot see. You can lay the most beautiful brick in the county, dead plumb and dead level, and if the ground underneath has shifted, the crack will find you, and it will run right up through your finest work on the first hard freeze. So, tend the footing. Pay attention to the ground your life is built on, the marriage, the family, the people you trust to hold your house while you are gone. Not with suspicion, but with the care a builder owes the things that carry weight. And if you ever find the footing has shifted, do not let anybody, not even someone you love, talk you into laying a fresh course over the crack just to keep the wall looking whole. A lie everyone agrees not to mention is still a lie, and it still fails. And it takes the children standing closest to it down when it goes. Tear out what is broken. Pour an honest footing. Build true. Even when building true costs you a Sunday table, because a thing built true will hold your weight for the rest of your life, and a thing built over a crack never will. If your own blood ever cuts you, hear me, because this is the hardest one. You can forgive a person all the way down and still never hand them the weight of your life again. Forgiveness keeps the poison out of your own heart. It does not require you to rebuild your house on a man who already proved he would set the charge under it. Forgive for your own sake. Build only on what is true, and keep your hands clean while you do it, because the man who keeps his honor through the worst betrayal there is walks out the other side with the one thing they could never take from him, which was the only thing that was ever really his.
And one more thing. For anybody whose whole family is leaning on them right now to keep the peace by swallowing the truth, I know that pressure. I know it came at me from the one voice in the world I trust most, my own mother. And I know how much it looks like love. But hear me close. Keeping a family together is a good and holy thing, and it is not the same as agreeing to live a lie so nobody has to feel uncomfortable at supper. A family built on everyone agreeing not to mention the crack is not a family that is together. It is a family that is quietly failing, course by course, until it comes down on the children standing in it. The truest thing you can do for the people you love is sometimes the very thing they are begging you not to do, which is to tell the truth, set an honest footing, and let the family rebuild on solid ground instead of over a fault. The ones who beg you for the lie today will, more of them than you think, come to stand on the truth with you tomorrow, the way my mama did. Give them the chance. Build it true, and let them come to it. Take care of yourselves out there. Tend your footings, and tell me where you are watching from tonight. I read every single one,